Stop scrolling right now, because what I'm about to expose was never supposed to go public. Drake's label held an emergency meeting. The question they asked wasn't how to protect him. It was this: is he still marketable? That one sentence just changed everything, and the internet has no idea what's really happening behind those closed doors. Everyone thought this story was about Twitch streams. Everyone thought it was about a rapper embarrassing himself online, getting clipped, getting memed, getting dragged into oblivion. That was the version the internet ran with. But that wasn't the breakdown. That was just the aftermath. Because while you were laughing at Drake's emotional rants, something far more dangerous was happening in private. According to multiple industry leaks, Drake's own team went into full panic mode after those streams went viral. Not concern, not confusion, panic. And the question they asked in that closed-door meeting will haunt him forever. This isn't about streaming anymore. This is about survival, and the clock is ticking. Let me break down exactly what happened after Drake logged off that final stream. Within 48 hours, an emergency meeting was triggered. No cameras, no social media posts, no damage control tweets, just executives, closed doors, and one devastating question that froze everyone in the room. Is Drake okay? And more importantly, is he still marketable? Let that sink in for a second. They didn't ask how to protect him. They didn't ask how to spin the narrative. They asked if they could still sell him. That's the moment the tone shifted, because this wasn't about music anymore. This was about containment. And here's where it gets even crazier. Industry insiders started leaking what Drake never wanted exposed. His unreleased music was quietly tested. Focus groups, private listening sessions, controlled environments with hand-picked audiences. The goal was simple: measure the response, gauge the temperature, see if the damage was repairable. And the results came back ice cold. Not hate, not outrage, indifference. That's the word that kept appearing in leaked reports. Indifference. One executive allegedly said something that hit like a gunshot. People don't hate Drake, they're just tired. And in this industry, that's a death sentence. Being dissed can be flipped into motivation. Being controversial keeps you relevant. But being ignored? That's how legends disappear. That's how careers dissolve in slow motion. Now, think about what that means for someone like Drake, who built his entire empire on being everywhere, all the time. His brand was omnipotence. His power was unavoidable dominance. And now the data is showing that people are tuning out, not because they're angry, because they're exhausted. The focus groups didn't trash his new songs. They just didn't care. They didn't feel anything. And when your audience stops feeling, you stop mattering. But it gets worse, because the leaked internal emails reportedly revealed something even more disturbing. Drake's team started comparing his current metrics to past controversies. They analyzed the Pusha T diss fallout, the ghostwriting allegations, the Millie Bobby Brown conversations, every scandal he survived before, and they realized something terrifying. Those controversies made him stronger because he controlled the narrative afterward. He dropped Scorpion and dominated. He stayed silent and let the music speak. He pivoted and rebuilt momentum. But this time, there's no pivot, because Drake isn't staying silent. He's explaining, he's justifying, he's streaming his emotions in real time for millions to dissect. And every explanation makes him look weaker. One A&R summarized it brutally in a leaked message. He's doing Kendrick's work for him. Think about that. Kendrick hasn't said a single word since the battle ended. No interviews, no victory laps, no subliminal shots, just silence. And that silence is destroying Drake more effectively than any diss track ever could. Because every time Drake goes live and tries to prove he's okay, he's proving the opposite. Every motivational speech sounds like desperation. Every laugh feels forced. Every confident statement gets clipped and turned into a meme within minutes. The internet isn't just watching anymore, they're hunting, and Drake keeps giving them ammunition. Fans online turned into investigators, analyzing every frame of every stream. They're studying his body language, zooming in on his eyes, comparing his energy levels across different broadcasts, tracking when he pauses too long, noting when his voice cracks, documenting every defensive comment. And the consensus is unanimous. Something is broken. This isn't the same Drake who shrugged off Meek Mill. This isn't the same Drake who outlasted Pusha T. This is someone who's lost the plot, someone who doesn't know how to stop performing his pain. And the scariest part? His team knows it. They see it. They're watching him self-destruct in real time. And according to sources, they begged him to stop. Disappear for 6 months, cancel all streams, delete the apps, no explanations, no defenses, just silence, let the noise die, then drop music later when the narrative resets. But Drake refused, and the reason he gave reportedly shook everyone in the room. I don't know who I am without the feedback. Let that sentence sit with you. He doesn't need praise. He doesn't even need love. He needs the chat. Even when they hate him, even when they mock him, even when they're actively watching him fall apart, because the feedback is the only thing that makes him feel real. That's not confidence, that's not resilience, that's addiction, and it's playing out on Twitch for the entire world to witness.
Now let's get into the deeper context, because this collapse didn't start with Kendrick. It started way before. Drake's entire identity has been built on one single concept: winning. Not just musically, not just commercially, but culturally. He needed to be the guy everyone talked about, the guy who set trends, the guy who dominated every conversation. And for over a decade, he was. But here's what most people don't realize. That kind of dominance requires constant reinforcement. It's not sustainable on talent alone. It's sustained through strategy, timing, and most importantly, perception. And perception is the one thing Drake has completely lost control of. Let's go back to the Kendrick battle. When those diss tracks dropped, the internet didn't just pick a side, they picked a narrative. And the narrative was clear. Kendrick dismantled Drake, not just lyrically, psychologically. He exposed insecurities, he questioned authenticity, he attacked the core of Drake's brand. And here's the part that's killing Drake internally. He knows Kendrick was right, about certain things at least. He knows the criticisms landed because they touched nerves he's been protecting his entire career. The culture vulture accusations, the ghostwriting questions, the performative blackness debates. These aren't new, but Kendrick didn't just repeat them, he weaponized them with surgical precision. And Drake has no counter, because you can't defend against the truth with more music. You can't out-rap self-awareness, and that's where the psychological warfare begins. Kendrick walked away. He said what he needed to say and disappeared. No interviews, no explanations, no victory tours, just silence. And that silence has done more damage than any follow-up diss ever could, because it leaves Drake in a lose-lose situation. If he responds again, he looks obsessed. If he stays quiet, he looks defeated. So what does he do? He goes live on Twitch. He tries to control the narrative through casual conversation. He tries to appear unbothered by streaming video games and laughing with chat. But every stream becomes a Rorschach test. Every comment gets analyzed, every laugh gets questioned, and the audience isn't buying it. They see through it. They feel the desperation. And once the audience smells blood, they don't stop. They circle, they attack, they clip every vulnerable moment and turn it into content. And Drake keeps feeding them. Now here's where the motive gets even darker. According to people close to the situation, Drake genuinely believed that Twitch streams would humanize him. He thought showing vulnerability would rebuild connection. He thought being real would remind people why they loved him in the first place. But he miscalculated catastrophically, because the internet doesn't reward vulnerability from people they've decided to cancel. They weaponize it. Every emotional moment becomes proof of weakness. Every honest admission becomes a meme. Every attempt to connect becomes ammunition. And Drake walked right into it. But let's go deeper. Why would someone as calculated as Drake make such a massive strategic error? Because he's not thinking strategically anymore. He's reacting emotionally. And that's the clearest sign that he's lost his grip. Throughout his career, Drake has been a master of optics. Every move was planned, every collaboration was strategic, every public appearance was calculated to reinforce the brand. But now, he's spiraling. and the people around him are watching it happen in real time. According to leaked conversations, his team tried multiple interventions. They presented data showing the Twitch streams were hurting his brand. They showed him the clips going viral. They explained how each stream was giving his critics more material, but Drake wouldn't listen. And here's why. Because deep down, he's terrified of silence. He's terrified that if he stops talking, stops performing, stops being visible, people will forget about him. And for someone whose entire identity is built on being unforgettable, that's the ultimate fear. So he keeps going live, he keeps explaining, he keeps trying to prove he's okay, and every attempt makes it worse. Now let's talk about what's happening behind the scenes with his music. Multiple sources say Drake has an album ready. It's finished, it's been mixed, it's sitting in the vault waiting for the right moment to drop. But here's the nightmare scenario their label is facing. No matter how good that album is, it's dropping into a hostile narrative. The audience isn't pressing play to enjoy it, they're pressing play to convict it. Every lyric will be analyzed for insecurity, every emotional bar will be labeled as weakness, every confident line will be called delusional. That's not an album rollout, that's a public trial, and the jury has already made up their minds. His team knows this. They've run the projections, they've studied the sentiment analysis, and the data is clear. Drake's next album will be judged not on its quality, but whether it proves Kendrick right. That's the trap he's in. And there's no easy way out, because if he drops introspective music, it'll be seen as defeat. If he drops braggadocious music, it'll be seen as delusion. If he addresses the beef directly, it'll be seen as obsession. If he ignores it completely, it'll be seen as avoidance. Every move is a losing move, and his label is panicking because they see the walls closing in. This isn't just about one album, this is about the long-term viability of their biggest asset. And right now, that asset is depreciating in real time. But here's the part that genuinely hits different. Underneath all the industry panic, underneath all the strategic failures, there's a human being who's clearly struggling. And that's not something to celebrate, that's something to recognize. Because what we're watching isn't just a celebrity losing a battle, we're watching someone lose their sense of self in public. And that's a different kind of pain.
There's a moment that allegedly happened after one of the streams that didn't get captured on camera. Drake sat alone in his studio for nearly an hour. No phone, no scrolling, no music, just silence. And then he said one sentence that reportedly made everyone in the room go quiet. What if they were only here for the winning version of me? That's not ego talking, that's fear. That's the realization that maybe the love was conditional. Maybe the support was transactional. Maybe the fans weren't fans of him. They were fans of what he represented: success, dominance, untouchability. And now that the armor's cracked, now that the illusion is broken, maybe they're not interested anymore. That's a devastating thought for anyone. But for someone who spent 2 decades building their identity around being loved, it's existential. And you can see it in his eyes during the streams. There are moments where he's laughing, and the laugh doesn't reach his eyes. There are moments where he's talking confidently, but his hands are shaking. There are moments where he's reading chat and you can see him flinch at certain comments. He's performing strength, but the performance is cracking, and the audience can feel it. Now, here's what makes this even more tragic. Drake doesn't have the tools to process this privately. He's been famous for so long that he doesn't know how to exist without an audience. He doesn't know how to sit with his thoughts without broadcasting them. He doesn't know how to heal without performing the healing. So he keeps going live, he keeps talking, he keeps trying to convince the world and himself that he's okay. But the more he talks, the clearer it becomes that he's not. And the internet isn't gentle with that kind of vulnerability. They're vicious, they're relentless, they turn pain into entertainment. And Drake keeps serving it up on a silver platter. According to people close to him, there have been genuine concerns about his mental state. Not in a tabloid gossip way, in a real human way. Because watching someone unravel in real time is disturbing. Even if that person is a millionaire celebrity, even if that person has resources most people will never have, pain is still pain, and Drake is clearly in pain. The question is whether he'll get the help he needs before this spiral gets worse, or whether he'll keep performing his collapse for an audience that stopped caring. Now let's get into the even darker details that have been leaking over the past few weeks, because the Twitch meltdown was just the surface. The real story is what's been happening in the industry behind closed doors. And trust me, it's far worse than anyone realizes. Multiple sources from within OVO and the label have been anonymously leaking information to industry insiders, and the picture they're painting is apocalyptic. First, let's talk about the financial implications. Drake's streaming numbers are still massive. He's still pulling millions of plays. But here's what the data doesn't show.
Even analyzing mannerisms, there are videos of the boy talking and moving, and some fans swear he has similar gestures to Drake. The way he tilts his head, the way he laughs. Obviously, kids can pick up traits from anyone around them, but the internet has decided these are genetic markers. They've made up their minds. Another piece of evidence that's getting traction, alleged screenshots of old text messages. These haven't been verified and could easily be fake, but they're circulating anyway. The screenshots allegedly show conversations between the woman and someone labeled as D discussing a pregnancy and requests for secrecy. Again, completely unverified, could be photoshopped, could be taken out of context, but millions of people have seen them and they're treating them as real. Fans swear they've also found financial clues. Some claim the woman's lifestyle improved slightly around late 2014. She allegedly moved to a better apartment, and her social media posts from that time show her buying new things. People are speculating, did she receive money? Was there a settlement? Is that why she went quiet? Pure speculation, but it's fueling the narrative. And here's where things get even more intense. Commentators are now comparing this situation to other celebrity paternity scandals. They're bringing up cases where men denied children for years, only for DNA tests to later prove paternity. They're talking about how common it is for powerful men to hide kids and pay for silence, and they're saying Drake fits that exact pattern. One viral thread laid out a timeline of Drake's known relationships around 2014 and highlighted gaps, periods where he was allegedly single or not publicly linked to anyone. And people are saying that's when this could have happened. That's when he was flying under the radar. The thread got hundreds of thousands of likes and became a reference point for the entire debate. Online detectives have also found old interviews where Drake talked about fatherhood. In one clip from 2015, he said he'd be a great father when the time came. People are replaying that clip now and saying, was he already a father when he said this? Was he lying? It's another layer of suspicion. And then there's the silence from Drake's camp. Usually, when false accusations surface about celebrities, their teams respond immediately with denials or legal threats. But as of now, nothing. No statement, no denial, no acknowledgement. And that silence is making people even more suspicious. Fans are saying, if this was fake, he'd shut it down instantly. The fact that he's quiet means there's truth here.
Some users even claim to have reached out to people who allegedly knew the woman back in 2014. Secondhand stories are being shared, friends of friends saying, yeah, she told us she was dealing with something involving a celebrity, but she couldn't say who. Again, unverified, but it's adding to the pile of circumstantial evidence the internet is building. What's wild is how quickly all of this has been assembled. In less than a week, the internet has created an entire case file. Photos, timelines, comparisons, testimonies, theories. It's like watching a crowdsourced investigation in real time. And whether it's accurate or not doesn't matter to the millions of people who've already decided it's true. So right now, the evidence is a mix of verified photos, circumstantial timelines, visual comparisons, alleged screenshots, and a whole lot of speculation. But together, it's created a narrative so compelling that even skeptics are starting to question what they believe. And that's the power of collective investigation in the social media age. Meanwhile, fans online been working like full-blown investigators, and they're not just stopping at this one story. They're digging into Drake's entire history, trying to find other patterns or connections that might reveal even more secrets. And honestly, some of what they're uncovering is wild. For example, people are revisiting the entire Pusha T beef with fresh eyes. Remember how Pusha exposed Adonis? Fans are now saying, what if there's more? What if Pusha knew about other things but only dropped the one bomb? Some users are convinced Pusha has receipts he never released, and they're begging him to speak up again. Whether he does or not, the speculation alone is keeping this story alive. Then there's the Sophie Brousseau situation. She's Adonis's mother, and people are comparing how Drake handled that situation to how this new allegation allegedly played out. Both involved initial silence, both involved secrecy, both came to light in messy public ways. Fans are saying the parallels are too obvious to ignore.
They're asking, is this just how Drake operates? Does he have a pattern of hiding kids? And it's not just about the kids. People are also revisiting his relationships with other women over the years. Every woman he's been romantically linked to is being analyzed. Did any of them have suspicious timelines? Did any of them go silent suddenly? Were there any other rumors that got buried? The internet is leaving no stone unturned. One side story that's gaining traction involves an alleged close friend of the woman from 2014. This friend supposedly posted cryptic messages on Facebook around that time, hinting at powerful people and injustice. Those posts have been screenshotted and shared thousands of times now. People are treating them like breadcrumbs leading to the truth. Whether they're actually connected to this situation is unclear, but the internet has decided they are. There's also chatter about Drake's inner circle. Fans are speculating about which of his friends or team members might have known about this alleged secret. They're analyzing old interviews where his crew talked about his personal life. They're looking for slips or hints. One clip from 2016 shows one of Drake's friends making a joke about him having secrets in every city. At the time, it seemed like typical banter. Now, people are rewatching it and saying, wait, was that a real confession disguised as a joke? Another angle people are exploring, Drake's lyrics from albums released after 2014. Fans are convinced he's been dropping hints about this situation for years. Songs where he talks about regrets, tracks where he mentions not being there for someone, lines about guilt and secrets. People are dissecting every bar, trying to decode hidden meanings. Are they reading too much into it? Probably, but that's not stopping anyone. Let's also talk about the broader impact this is having on celebrity culture. This story has sparked massive conversations about accountability, power dynamics, and the ethics of hiding children. People are debating whether celebrities have a right to privacy in these situations or whether the public deserves to know the truth. It's become bigger than just Drake. It's about how fame and wealth can be used to control narratives, bury uncomfortable truths, and silence people who don't have the resources to fight back. Some commentators are even tying this to the Me Too movement and discussions about believing women. They're saying, how many women have come forward with stories about powerful men only to be silenced or called liars? How often does money and influence erase the truth? This situation is being framed as another example of that pattern. And whether you agree or not, it's resonating with a lot of people. There's also been a surge of interest in other celebrity paternity scandals. People are Googling cases from years past, they're watching old documentaries, they're learning about how these situations typically play out, and they're using that knowledge to predict what might happen next with Drake. The consensus? If this is real, it's going to get a lot messier before it gets resolved. And honestly, the fact that this story is still dominating social media feeds days after it broke shows how invested people are. Usually, viral stories fade fast, but this one has staying power. Every day there's a new angle, a new photo, a new theory. It's feeding itself. And as long as Drake stays silent, the speculation will only grow. What's also interesting is how this has divided his fan base. Some fans are defending him fiercely, saying there's no proof and people need to stop jumping to conclusions. Others are disappointed and saying, if this is true, I'm done supporting him. And then there's a third group who's just here for the chaos, watching everything unfold like it's a reality show. That split within his own community is significant. So right now, we're watching a situation that started as one viral post turn into a full-blown cultural moment. The allegations, the evidence, the theories, the debates, it's all snowballing. And whether Drake responds or not, the damage to his image might already be done. Because once the internet decides something, it's almost impossible to change their minds. And this story is still unfolding, with way bigger implications than just one celebrity scandal. What we're seeing here is how fame, wealth, and power can potentially be weaponized to control narratives, bury uncomfortable truths, and silence people who don't have the resources to fight back.
The bigger conversation is about responsibility. When you're one of the most famous people on the planet, you're not just living your life. You're setting an example. You're influencing millions of fans, especially young people. And if the allegations are true, if Drake really did father a child and hide him for over a decade while potentially silencing the mother, that's not just a personal failing. That's a betrayal of the trust people put in public figures. And let's keep it real. This isn't just about Drake. This is about a system that allows powerful men to behave this way without consequences.
How many other stories like this exist that we'll never hear about? How many women have been paid off, threatened, or bullied into silence? How many children are growing up not knowing their fathers because fame and image are more important than family? The questions go beyond one person. They expose a larger cultural problem. What's also troubling is the lack of accountability. If this story is true, Drake built an empire worth hundreds of millions of dollars while allegedly hiding a child and refusing to acknowledge him publicly. And up until this moment, he's faced zero repercussions. No loss of endorsements, no drop in streams, no public backlash, because the story was successfully buried. That shows how effective money and legal power can be at erasing truth. But the internet is changing that dynamic. Social media has given regular people the ability to investigate, share information, and hold celebrities accountable in ways that weren't possible before. 10 years ago, if a story got buried, it stayed buried. Now, it can come roaring back with even more force, and that's what's happening here. The broader message this sends is powerful. You can't hide forever. Secrets eventually surface, and the more you try to suppress the truth, the worse it looks when it finally comes out. Drake's silence back in 2014 might have worked temporarily, but now it's being used against him as evidence of guilt. The cover-up becomes the story. This situation is also a warning for anyone with a large platform. The more you cultivate a public image, the more vulnerable you are when that image cracks. Drake has built his brand on being relatable, authentic, and in touch with his emotions. If it turns out he's been hiding a child and potentially silencing a woman, that brand shatters. The hypocrisy is too glaring, and once public trust is broken, it's almost impossible to rebuild. And there's a human cost to all of this. If the allegations are true, there's a child who grew up without his father, a woman who allegedly suffered in silence for a decade, families torn apart by secrecy. That's real trauma, that's real damage, and no amount of money or success justifies causing that kind of pain. What we're seeing here is how online fame, culture, and power intersect in dangerous ways. When you constantly prioritize image over truth, you're not just protecting yourself, you're unintentionally creating victims, and those victims eventually speak. Maybe not immediately, maybe not loudly, but eventually the silence breaks, and when it does, the fallout is massive. Drake's situation is a wild example, but it's also a warning for anybody with influence. The more you try to control the narrative, the more you risk losing control entirely when the truth surfaces. And in the age of social media where nothing stays buried forever, that's a gamble you're gonna lose. So where does this go from here? Because right now we're at a tipping point, and what happens next could define Drake's legacy permanently. If the allegations are true, Drake has limited options. He can continue staying silent and hope the story dies down, but that seems unlikely given how much traction this has gained. Silence at this point looks like guilt to millions of people, or he can address it directly, issue a statement, and try to control the narrative. But what does he say? Admitting it destroys his image. Denying it without proof makes him look defensive. Either way, he's trapped. Some fans think he's going to drop a statement soon. Maybe not a full confession, but some kind of acknowledgement. Others think his legal team is scrambling behind the scenes, trying to figure out how to make this go away quietly. But here's the thing, you can't make the internet forget. Once something goes this viral, it's permanent. Even if he addresses it, people will always remember how it unfolded. The evidence of comparison is too striking. There's also speculation about what the woman's next move is. Will she do an interview? Will she pursue legal action? Will she demand a paternity test? People are watching her social media closely, waiting for any new posts or statements. She holds a lot of power right now. If she speaks again, the story explodes even further. If she goes silent again, people will wonder why. She's in a position where every move is scrutinized. And what about the child? He's old enough now to understand what's happening. He's seeing his face all over the internet. He's hearing people debate whether Drake is his father. That's got to be confusing and painful. Some people are saying he deserves answers. If Drake is his father, he deserves to know. He deserves acknowledgement. He deserves more than being a secret.
The public is also waiting to see if anyone from Drake's inner circle speaks up. Will someone confirm the story? Will someone leak more information? Or will they all close ranks and stay loyal? In situations like this, loyalty often cracks under pressure. Someone always talks, and if that happens, this whole thing breaks wide open. There's also the question of whether other media outlets pick this up.
Right now, it's mostly social media driven, but if TMZ or major entertainment news sites start covering it, the story reaches a whole new level. It becomes unavoidable, and Drake's team will have no choice but to respond. People are speculating about long-term damage too. Will this affect his music career? Will brands drop him? Will his fan base shrink? Some fans are already saying they can't support him if the allegations are true. Others are defending him no matter what. The division is real, and it's growing. And let's be honest, this story might never be fully resolved. We might never get a DNA test. We might never get a confession. It might exist forever in this limbo of alleged truth and speculation. And that uncertainty is almost worse because it allows everyone to project their own beliefs onto the situation. People who want to believe he's guilty will always believe he's guilty. People who want to defend him will always find reasons to doubt the story. But here's what's undeniable. The damage is done. Whether it's true or not, millions of people now associate Drake's name with this scandal. They've seen the photos, they've heard the theories, they've formed opinions, and that's not going away. His reputation has taken a hit that no amount of PR can fully repair. So the collapse might not be immediate, it might be slow. A gradual erosion of trust and respect, fewer streams, fewer sold-out shows, fewer brand deals, not because of one confirmed fact, but because of persistent doubt. And in the court of public opinion, doubt is enough to destroy you. Stay locked in because this story is far from over. More details dropping every day, more clues surfacing, more theories exploding, and reports say the woman might be preparing to speak publicly for the first time in a decade. If that happens, everything changes. This whole situation could reach a level we've never seen before in celebrity scandals. So drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Drake has been hiding this secret for 10 years? Do the photos and comparisons convince you? Or do you think this is all speculation and coincidence? And more importantly, do you think he's going to address this, or is he going to stay silent and hope it blows over? The internet is divided right now. Some people are absolutely convinced this is real. They're saying the evidence is too strong to ignore. Others think it's a coordinated attack or a misunderstanding being blown out of proportion. And then there's people in the middle who just want answers, who want the truth, whatever it is. But here's what we know for sure. This story has exposed uncomfortable questions about power, fame, and accountability. It's forced people to think about how secrets get buried and how the truth eventually surfaces. And whether you believe the allegations or not, you can't deny that the conversation is necessary. This is bigger than gossip. This is about whether celebrities should be held to the same standards as everyone else. It's about whether hiding a child is acceptable if you're famous. It's about whether women should be silenced when they come forward with uncomfortable truths. These are real issues, and this situation is putting them front and center. Make sure you like the video so more people see this story. Hit subscribe so you don't miss any updates because trust me, there's going to be more. And turn on notifications because when Drake finally responds or when the woman speaks out again, you're gonna want to be here for it. This is history unfolding in real time, and we're covering every single twist. I appreciate you for rocking with me through this deep dive. I know it was long, but this story required us to go there. We had to break down every angle, every piece of evidence, every theory, because that's how serious this situation has become. And I'm committed to keeping you informed as this continues to develop. So stay safe out there. Remember that fame doesn't make you untouchable. Secrets don't stay buried forever, and the internet never forgets. Whether you're a superstar or a regular person, the truth has a way of finding the light. And when it does, you better be ready to face it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.